Welcome back to another episode of Antique Overland. This week we're looking to explore a few one-hit wonders from the camping collection. Camping equipment that was produced for a very limited time, or in very limited numbers, or only once in its current iteration. Some from companies you'll undoubtedly be familiar with, and others that may be a little bit more obscure, even to the point of eventually having been lost to history, or whose company histories are at some point so convoluted that their lineage has been buried with time. So let's jump right into one-hit wonder number 1, and maybe one of my personal favorite pieces in our camping collection, the ideal tourist shovel. Before we dive too deep into the ideal shovel, I want to take a moment to note that when you research auto shovels, most, but by no means all, of what you are bound to find are World War I surplus T-handle shovels. Not surprising considering their size and availability, but they weren't the only options, and the mass market responded with the Ideal as well as several other brands available. The Ideal shovel, manufactured by Ideal Manufacturing Company of North Kansas City, Missouri, fits the definition of a one-hit wonder perfectly. Produced between 1915 and 1917, Ideal worked primarily with jobbers and didn't sell directly to their customer base. It's interesting to note, too, that most of their advertisements were focused heavily on the motorist, and not the camper, and in truth it didn't even draw a parallel between the two. The text of most of their advertisements focused on digging your car out of the mud so you didn't disrupt your otherwise enjoyable drive. But for a mere $2, the tourist could have the most reliable shovel on the market, an all-carbon steel product that was nickel-plated and fully collapsible, to the point of fitting into the pocket of your car door. No need to take up trunk or under seat space anymore. This wonder was strong and compact, with one extension sliding into the other, bringing the entire shovel to nothing larger than the size of the blade. So where did Ideal go wrong with their tourist shovel? It's hard to say with any degree of certainty, but there are a few leads worthy of consideration. Firstly, although the shovels were marked as patent applied for, I wasn't able to locate the patent, which makes me think that they either didn't receive it or it was pulled during the application process for some reason. Secondly is their marketing, or rather lack thereof. They chose to focus heavily on the auto market and published in magazines like Collier's, Horseless Age, and Sunset, rather than the more recreation-focused publications operating at the same time. Thirdly is the price. Why pay $2 when you could have bought a surplus shovel for 75 cents, just to save a little space? Our next one-hit wonder is a stove you might be a little bit more familiar with, but I'm betting you know it by another serial number. The first Coleman 418. At the risk of turning this into a Coleman history video, I'll give you a brief rundown on the company just to provide some context. Coleman was founded by William Coffin Coleman in 1900 as a lighting company, but by 1923 Coleman had entered the stove market and introduced its first gas stove, the two-burner, the Coleman Model 1. They remained steadfast in their two-burner designs until 1937, when they introduced the 418 three-burner. This mostly now seemingly forgotten stove saw production from 1937 to 1939. The original family-sized beast was advertised as being able to handle the cooking of man-sized meals for the whole crowd on its 360 square inches of cooking space, and yet fold into nothing bigger than a small suitcase. Essentially a blip on the radar, the original 418 was retooled slightly to be another one-hit wonder, the 418B, a one-year production stove for 1940, and again the 420 in 1941. But it wouldn't be for almost a decade that Coleman would again attempt another three-burner stove, and finally see three-burner models which would see success on the market and run well into the 21st century. This brings us to our third one-hit wonder, and something for all you early scouting nerds out there. The Scout Hike Meter, produced from 1912 to approximately 1915. Pedometers are anything but new, and they're certainly more than just another app on your phone. What could be more perfect for every scout and sportsman than the Scout Hike Meter, with pedometer on one side and compass on the other? Marketed by the Scouts Compass Watch Company of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Winnipeg, Canada, and sold for $1.50 each. If you sent the company $2.75, however, you could get both the hike meter and the corresponding Scout Compass watch. Available in either nickel or gunmetal finishes, this handy item would answer the question posed in each advertisement: How far did you walk? With no winding or setting needed, the hike meter will track up to 100 miles before automatically resetting itself. So consider finding a hike meter to wear on your belt next time you go hiking, or just to count your steps. Our fourth and final one-hit wonder takes us back to the Coleman line of products, but this time we're checking out the 243 and 243A lanterns, the only models to carry blue paint. While Coleman has played with color over the years, nothing has been as iconic as their nickel and green or all-green lanterns. That left the 243 with its blue paint and black porcelain shade, and the 243A with its blue paint and either blue or black porcelain shades, as the odd ones out. These economy model lanterns were produced between 1936 and 1941 respectively, with the earliest advertisements for the 243A actually appearing in 1936 as well. These lanterns were built with painted fonts rather than the more expensive nickel-plated ones, a one-piece ventilator, a steel burner casting in place of the traditional brass, and a European-style pump. These little blue single-mantle lanterns burned at 175 candle power and came equipped with either genuine Pyrex or, alternatively, mica globes. They stood at 11.5 inches tall and retailed for $4.45 each. Thanks for watching this episode of Antique Overland. We hope you've been inspired to keep an eye out for more unique items and add to your classic camping kits. From a living history perspective, the sheer volume of items produced and marketed to scouts, autotourists, campers, and all-around outdoorsmen, there's no need for any of our camps to look like near identical copies of each other. I'm usually a strict proponent of plain, everyday, and common, but in this period that adage needs to be kept in perspective. So, in the meantime, find something different to add to your impressions. We're going camping next week, so stay tuned for some new camping adventures, and we'll see you when we get back. Thanks for watching, and please remember to hit all the fun YouTube buttons to help us promote the channel and grow our audience. Thanks.